Well, here we go again. Tennessee is once again under investigation for some NIL related things. The situation that happened last time, apparently there was money being put into bags, you know what I'm saying? And now this time it may be linked to a certain quarterback getting $8 million. And so we're going to talk about that in this video. And as an Alabama fan, I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions on this because I think it's very important for people to know and people to understand why, even if you are not a Tennessee fan, you should probably be behind the Tennessee Vols this time around. And this is a very interesting situation because it could potentially lead to the end of the NCAA as we know. And a lot of people are speaking about how can college football, how can college athletics survive without the NCAA? Look, the NCAA hasn't really done a whole lot. Maybe they can handle March Madness or something like that, but other than that, when was the last time you looked at the NCAA and actually clapped your hands about a situation or a scenario that they have put their hands on? I cannot remember. There are a lot of things the NCAA has done in their tenure that I don't like. Give Reggie Bush his damn Heisman back. That's just the first one that comes to mind. But we're going to talk about this Tennessee versus the NCAA. And, well, I shouldn't say Tennessee. I should actually say Tennessee and Virginia versus the NCAA situation in this video. But before we get into all that, make sure that you guys like, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. We're on the way to 5,000 subscribers. And if you've been hanging around for a minute, I finally got memberships as well. So if you want to support your boy, go ahead and hit that join button after that subscribe button. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into this video. So the Tennessee Vols on the investigation once again, as I had stated before, and I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts and opinions on this just based off the little bit of information that we have, because we don't necessarily know exactly why the NCAA is going after Tennessee, but I have heard rumors about a private jet helping a certain quarterback get from place to place, you know what I'm saying, from his hometown to the actual college itself. And if you don't know who I'm talking about Nico Iamaleava. I can barely say that last name, but it's linked to him. I probably still said that last name wrong, but it's fine. Anyways, that's the country grammar in me. Don't hold me for that. But let's continue. So now you have a situation where the chancellor for Tennessee has spoken out, and basically the way that she's putting it, she's saying that the rules and regulations that the NCAA has put in place are not clear and are not realistic and cannot be obtained. And so now we have a lawsuit. And if you want to see exactly what she said, here it is. The leaders of intercollegiate athletics owe it to student athletes and their families to establish clear rules and to act in their best interests. Instead, 2.5 years of vague and contradictory NCAA memos, emails, and guidance about name, image, and likeness, of course NIL, has created extraordinary chaos that student athletes and institutions are struggling to navigate. In short, the NCAA is failing. If you want to read this entire thing, I will put a link to it down below in the description. There is another page and a lot more information in this statement if you want to take your time out to read the entirety of it. But long story short, she is saying that the rules put in place make no sense and they contradict each other. And I can skip to the bottom of this because I think a lot of people are paying attention to these last statements right here that is in this letter. Right here on page 3, it says it is intellectually dishonest for the NCAA staff to issue guidelines that say a third-party collective business may meet with prospective student athletes, discuss NIL, even enter into a contract with prospective student athletes, but at the same time say that the collective may not engage in conversations that would be of a recruiting nature. Any discussion about NIL might factor into a prospective student athlete decision to attend an institution. This creates an inherently unworkable situation and everyone knows it. And that I do agree upon. How can you tell me that NIL is not going to play a factor into someone's decision to choose a particular school? And the fact that the NCAA does not recognize that NIL is now going to be included into the recruitment process, it's just hand in hand. It's almost like saying I want a job, but I'm not going to talk salary. salary is the most important thing that you should be talking about. If people are handing out money, if colleges, programs, whatever you want to call it, institutions are handing out money, why would that not be one of the top discussions? And I'm not saying that money should be everything, but when money is on the table to be made, who is not going to go out there and make it? It will be dishonest, it will be disingenuous, it will be idiotic of anybody to think that money is not going to play a part into these student athletes' decision. And I'm not saying that it should be everything, but it is surely going to be very important. And we're going to look at what the NCAA said in a response to this. It says right here, while the NCAA generally does not comment on specific infraction cases, it is important to remember that the NCAA member schools and conferences not only make the rules, but routinely call for greater enforcement of those rules and holding violators accountable. In recent years, this has been especially true as it relates to establishing and enforcing a consistent set of national rules intended to manage the name, image, and likeness environment. This legal action would exacerbate what our members themselves have frequently described as a Wild West environment, further tilting competitive imbalance among schools in neighboring states and diminishing protection for student athletes from potential exploitation. The NCAA remains firmly committed to protecting and expanding student athletes' NIL rights and opportunities. However, our membership has steadfastly supported the prohibition on impermissible recruiting contacts, booster involvement in recruiting prospects, and the use of NIL offers as recruiting inducements. And so the way that I see this, you see that Wild West atmosphere statement in that this is under your guidance and your rules and regulation, NCAA. And I could be wrong with this, because this is where my entire gripe with the NCAA comes into play. A lot of the things that the NCAA is dealing with is years upon years upon years behind. Kids should have already been able to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. There should have already been a concrete system put in place in terms of NIL. The fact that kids way back in the day couldn't make money off of their names, I think it's ridiculous. The easiest way, in my opinion, to fix all of this is to have where it's some type of cap on the amount of money that kids could get, because I think anytime that you're making millions of dollars for a program, for an institution, you deserve some of that. And these kids are drawing in tons of money, and I could be wrong about this, but I believe the reason why all of this is not happening in terms of the salary cap, in terms of all of this, one, I think that amateurism thing that the NCAA is trying to hold on to, even though amateurism has been out the door ever since NIL was established. And two is because the NCAA is afraid of some huge lawsuit, but it seems that that doesn't matter because the lawsuit is happening right now. But the reason they don't want to go and like retroactively say, well, now let's put in all these things, these caps and all this in place, because somehow, some way that will put them in a huge bind. But I think we're going to see this Wild West environment until rules and regulations are put in place that are concrete, straightforward, and not going to affect someone who is talking about NIL. Because in this situation right here, it doesn't matter. If you're discussing NIL, that is already talking about recruiting. If you're discussing NIL, it's already talking about recruiting. The things go hand in hand. If I'm giving you a job, right, and we're talking salary, I'm already enticing you. Even if I don't directly come out and say I'm enticing you, we're talking money. And when it comes to talking money, it speaks loudly, all right? If you have two schools, right, and they have roughly the same record, roughly the same history, what is going to be the teetering factor of a student athlete making the decision on whether or not to go to which school? Is going to be who can give me the most money. But you know what would work? If these schools had the same amount of money to work with. That's why some people are looking at Ohio State, because they put $13 million into their budget in terms of NIL. Well, I said 13 plus, but you know what? I have no problems with Ohio State doing what they are allowed to do. If you're allowed to do it, then do it. They're not breaking any rules. They're simply putting all their resources into a bucket and say, all right, this is what we got to work with, and now we're going to go out and get these players. A lot of people complain about NIL, but you know who you should be looking at in terms of all of this messed up NIL regulation, all of this messed up NIL handling? It should be the NCAA. The reason why all these things aren't put into place right now is because of the NCAA. And it may end up being to the point where the NCAA may cease to exist in the future. Some people believe that we cannot run college sports without the NCAA. What exactly has the NCAA done that make people believe that? I'm pretty sure that you can establish a new body of work. If the kids go out there and play on the field, people are going to watch the games. I'm pretty sure that you can find a new group, a new body, a new something to regulate all of this stuff, put in actual rules that actually make sense, and continue to do your business from there. Because college football in general is bigger than the NCAA. It's bigger than the NCAA. The fans are going to watch the sport. The fans are going to watch, people are going to be there, things are going to happen. Now, there's a lot of legal action that's going to have to take place to remove the NCAA. And I'm not even necessarily saying that the NCAA should cease to exist. I'm not even going to be that extreme. But what I am saying is the NCAA needs to look into the mirror and realize that they are the reason for the season. They are the reason that this is happening, okay? They are the reason. And until there is some overhaul there, it is going to continue to be these lawsuits put in place. Virginia versus Tennessee is something that a lot of college fans, it doesn't matter if you're an Alabama fan, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Ohio State, it doesn't matter who you are a fan of. You need to be watching this situation, and I'm not necessarily saying you need to go to sleep thinking about it, but you need to just, tune in every now and then and see where it is, because this is probably going to be drawn out for a while now. We're not going to get a ruling on this for a minute, but at the same time, we should be watching this very closely and seeing how this thing plays out, because the NCAA has done this long enough. They need change. And whatever needs to happen to the NCAA for them to make this change, it needs to happen soon. Because then I think everybody will get what they want. And that's more regulation on the NIL stuff. And until the NCAA changes, we're not going to see that much change. As much as they want to call it the Wild West, it's their Wild West that they created. So let me know what you guys think about this situation down below in the comment section. What do you think about the NCAA? And like I said, I could be wrong, but I think most of the issues out there right now, it's the NCAA's fault for not being clear and not wanting to put in, or not being able to put in, rules and regulations, because they're scared that they were going to get sued on the back end for decisions that they have already made. You know what I'm saying? But I could be wrong. That's just the rumblings that I've been hearing. But let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and also subscribe.